So, uh, in lieu of always being transparent, this is round two because I messed up. The whole concept of making sure your sound is good. Well, Colleen had a microphone. I did not. So we're doing round two, interviewing me. The goal is to make sure we can post this and kind of educate all of you on your leadership and what it is we do and outside of work, how we got to where we're at. And then also our goal is to start to spotlighting all of our agents doing the same thing. So if you get that dreaded email, just know that it'll be one of us interviewing you, asking some of these questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Colleen.
Hi, Dre.
Hello.
So let's start with your education.
Okay.
Um, I have, in the time that we've known each other, I have found you to be a very learning based individual who soaks everything up like a sponge. So tell me a little bit about how your educational background shaped your leadership style.
So my educational background, I have my master's in business organization and leadership with an emphasis in marketing. So for me, I just love to learn because I look at it as a puzzle, and always trying to find the solution to the puzzle, find different ways that the puzzle can be put together. Um, but if you ask me to put together a jigsaw puzzle piece, I lose interest real quick. But for me, I really like the concept of sales and then also business development because of the fact that those really come into play with just human decision making. I also have my bachelor's of human development with an emphasis on adult cognitive decision making. So understanding why we do what we do. And what I basically came up with is the fact that as humans, we have an algorithm. And as all algorithm is why we do what we do. Um, so combining those, it's really kind of put me in a position where I get to learn not just systems in place that can help guide folks along the way with whatever funnel and sales process that I happen to be a part of, but also just getting to learn more about people. Uh, I find that in my role, it's a little bit difficult because I do want to learn so much about people that I also have to keep in mind, oh, yes, there's a system in place and why we're doing what we're doing. But on top of that, I have my bachelor's in exercise science and master's in human kinetics. And then I also was going to be a full on high school teacher and decided that just wasn't the route for me. Like I jokingly said last time we were doing this, I was a professional student at one point, and it got to a point where it's like, you should probably do something with the education you have. So, but yes, that my education has shaped me always coming from a place of learning. I don't ever feel like there's a stop button on that. You can't learn enough. Um, Whenever I hear people call themselves a guru of something, I cringe because a guru means you've reached the end level, you've defeated the end boss, and that's it. And I don't feel like that's the case ever. So
So a student of, not a guru of.
exactly.
Gotcha. So, what are the core principles that guide your leadership within KW?
The core principles that got my leadership with KW, I've brought over, and it's been molded and shaped since my first kind of position of leadership, uh, community. Um, I found that when I first opened up my own CrossFit gym, I tried to do everything myself, and it was exhausting. It was 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. There was no rest. People would message me at midnight. I would make sure I responded because it was this concept of, or this fear of missing out, and this coming from a place of lack. I needed to make sure I was everything for everybody else, uh, and then it dawned on me that there's people there that can help, and my wife was the first one that helped with that. And building the community is what really shaped my leadership skills now. Instead of trying to tell someone what to do, which is a lot of responsibility on me, it's help coaching them to understand what it is they need to do. So that's really been kind of the big the big shift in my management style and my
Hmm.
leadership style. Um, I will coach before I tell somebody. So,
Gotcha. So what took you on a transition from the fitness industry to the real estate industry, and how's your journey with KW been so far?
so fitness to real estate. It came at a point where, as I was getting older, I realized that I was having a harder time relating to folks with their fitness. And I was not coming from a place of empathy or even sympathy. I was just frustration. And it came because with my son getting sick, I ended up going through kind of a depression, not even kind of, I was diagnosed with depression. And for me, I was still showing up for myself on a fitness level going through that. Maybe not at the level that I needed to, but I was still doing it. So I had a lot of like resentment towards folks when they wouldn't do it. And I felt that's my cue. I'm not here to help people at the
Hmm.
level that I should be. So I need to move on.
Hmm.
Uh, I was in the fitness industry mostly for the business aspect of it. At no point did I decide going into it that I was going to be a personal trainer. That just happened. But I loved the business concept of it where it's always growing, always shaping, but it has this foundational model that you still can pull off of.
Hmm.
Andy Blackwell was what transitioned me to real estate. So I was sitting on my thumbs thinking, I got nothing to do now. And Andy at the time needed an executive assistant. And she told me flat out, I can hire you, but you are overqualified. I said, no, let's do this. So ended up working with her and learned a lot about real estate and ended up seeing how close real estate and fitness coincided in regards to the relationship aspect. And that's when I really fell in love with the industry. Um, I sat down with Andy and I went through all the process of like when you get a house listed, working with buying clients. And I told her, I said, that's tedious. It's so repetitive that my business ADD cannot handle that. So she had recommended some form of business development coaching. And my limiting beliefs was that if I haven't sold a house, how the heck am I going to do that? And she said, no, you've been an entrepreneur. So that was the first time I got to hear that.
Hmm.
Second was you. So the first time I got to hear that. And then that's when I got motivated. And I remember sitting down with, at that time, her team leader and told them, I want to be where you're at. It didn't land well, which me being extremely competitive was all I needed. And then everything that I did from that point was to become this essentially, find my way to get into a role like this, whether it was with KW or somewhere else.
Hmm.
And it took me on a pretty decent journey. So I went from working with Andy's group to another group and streamlining their CRMs. Then I was director of talent acquisition with Cascade Hassens. And at that point, I thought I was done with real estate because every turn I took, individuals were not living up to the promises that they gave me. There was a lot of overpromise, underdelivered.
Hmm.
So I, like a bad relationship, I went back to fitness and kind of just sleptwalk my way through success within the fitness industry for a short period of time, and then I was redirected back to you, and that's when suddenly I had this that inspiration kind of retriggered, where you had an amazing process of interviewing, which was very systematic with the KW model, and that's when I was just like, this is it. This is the opportunity I want. And I don't know if you noticed even the intensity in my interviews. It went from the first couple times we met where it's kind of like, okay, what's this all about? To
Hmm.
suddenly it was like, no, this is it. I actually want this. And
Hmm.
I genuinely, I went from going through the motions to genuinely caring about our conversations and how I left things off.
Yep.
So
And when are we going to meet next? And what else do we
exactly.
need to do in this process? You
Yeah.
were definitely pushing to move that process forward.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
shifted quickly, and as far as like my how everything has landed with me in KW since I've gotten here, it's like learning. It's like drinking water through a fire hose,
Hmm.
but with everything that does land, it's like, oh man, I got to take off and run with that. The first couple months was me trying to reinvent the wheel, and I loved it because instead of micromanaging and telling me no, you sat back just like you are right now, and just like, oh, he's gonna find out, and I did. I found out, no, people that were far more successful before me that did this role did it this way. Do it that way, be successful before I get to be creative with it. And that's the Mark King methodology.
Mm-hmm.
So I've, as some folks would say, I've drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And I want to get a big Kool-Aid jug in my office and have that there. But I tell people when they jokingly say that to me, I'm like, well, with whatever company you decide you're going to hang your hat at, you should drink the Kool-Aid. You should never have something negative to say about them, because if that's the case, then you shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
So for
good point.
me, I loved everything about KW my first time around when I was with Andy and the other teams. And then coming back, it's just reinstilled that, if not really strengthened the foundation of that. So,
Excellent. How do you integrate your personal insights and professional expertise to navigate and leverage the real estate market trends at KW?
so the trends right now, and a lot of, if for our agents that are watching this back, you heard me day one. I was talking videos and social media, and it wasn't landing well. I've been told it was like I had a crystal ball, and my response to that is the fitness industry went through this building value, showing value through video 4 or 5 years ago. So no, not a crystal ball. Just I've seen it. It's just a different product and how we have to deliver it, and teaching agents how the product is not the house, just like the product is not fitness. The product is your brand and the promise that you bring. So reteaching that concept and brand building versus marketing the house. I mean, the house is a house. People are going to need to buy a house. If you have a price right, if it's got the features they need, it's going to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the real estate agent really steps in is the value that they bring, and making sure that everything's compliant, making sure that the person, the prospect, or the homeowner that's listing the home is not going to have any backlash or anything that comes back on them a year from selling the home.
Mm-hmm.
This is where a real estate agent has value. It's not just making the house pretty, which is unfortunately what a lot of folks think. So teaching agents that your brand is your promise, and how you show up for your clients on every aspect is big. I think Gary Keller said it best at Family Reunion. They showed a list of what's most important to sellers and buyers. It's not how you negotiate, it's pricing my house right.
Mm-hmm.
It's, once again, not how you negotiate, it's finding me the right house. Do you have the resources to do so? And when you find out that Keller Williams has a stat of 1 in 5 houses in the United States is sold through a Keller Williams office, and when you find out that KW is the number one franchise real estate business in the country, it's like, well, okay, maybe I should listen to that and pay attention to that. So for me, when it comes to conveying my past experience in fitness and helping branding fitness and jumping into KW, it's far easier because of the fact that you have such amazing resources here
Mm-hmm.
to be able to grow your business versus a fitness individual that coming in from scratch, and you don't have a book of business to go from. You don't have the resources. In the fitness industry, it's kill or be killed, right? You have to come in and make such a big splash that it's almost cringeworthy. Whereas in real estate, if you come in and you're delivering value, you're delivering education on how the process goes and why a real estate agent's important, the sky's the limit. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about family life. So we know the demands of a team leader within the KW system, but that is not all that is the person that is
No.
Dre. So how do you balance? You've got kids and a wife and extended family. How do you find balance?
Yeah. I I realized in the fitness industry, I used to wake up at like 5 in the morning for work and everything. And I got a little bit I mean, just flat out, I got lazy and I started sleeping in a little bit later because I was like, oh, I don't have to be to the office until this time. Well, then I realized that that doesn't serve me well. And then right when I realized that, we had some family stuff come up where my schedule has to have me go pick up my daughter from school, and then I finish my day at home. Um, so we work really well together. Me understanding that I am not the team leader at home uh, is a big leverage point on making sure things run smoothly. But yeah, I mean, I got two kids in Minnesota. I have a stepdaughter that just got engaged. I have my 12-year-old who's going on 25. That gives us like she gives us a run for our money, and then my wife, who I me not being the most emotionally intelligent person, I have to try really hard there. But she's taught me how to be a lot more empathetic, which is what has made it so that this role is a lot more suited for me because I'm very data driven. There's no emotions in data, but she's allowed me through practice, through our relationship, of understanding what it means to be empathetic. So, for whereas I think I have a really good handle on when I'm working and when I'm not, she would argue definitely not. Because just last night was a perfect example. I was sitting on the couch going through my AI platform, making sure the editing works perfectly, and watching a show with her. And she stopped. She's like, "You're not even paying attention." Where I was able to spout back like verbatim the conversations that were going on, the
Hmm.
exact scene going on, and she hates that. But she's learned that that's just who I am. Like I have a hard time turning it off when I'm really passionate about something. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Speaking of passions, what do you enjoy doing outside of work and family?
Two things. Disc golf, which is my lifestyle. I remember when I played it 2 years ago. I couldn't find anybody to play with me, so I stopped. And then my all my discs got stolen, and I was like, "That whatever." Then my brother gets into it, and of course he comes to me and he says, "You got to try this game. It's where you go out to a park, and it sounds stupid, and you throw us like it's disc golf." He's like, "What?" It's like, "It's disc. I tried to get you to play with me years ago." And he's like, "Oh." So I didn't think he was going to stick with it. So I went to a garage sale, just picked up some garage sale discs, which it may sound for folks listening to this like, "Oh, that's all you have to do." No, the discs actually do certain things. I can geek out about that, but that's a whole nother video. Um, but so I played with them for a bit, and then I got a bag and slowly started getting discs. Well, fast forward to now, I went from just 3 garage sale discs to now I have about 75 discs. I have a basket at home. I have a couple bags. I have a pull along cart because it messes my back up if I carry
Hmm.
the bag. You know, getting older sucks. But yeah, now it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if
The
I
shirts and socks
Yep.
and
And if I find out a real estate agent likes to disc golf, I have enough discs to share. I'm like, we should meet at Pier Park.
yep. Or even, I don't know, somebody listening today who says, I've always wanted to try that.
Every single weekend, my brother and I go out. So just get a hold of me. You can message me, call me, text me. I don't I don't require gift cards if you text me. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you come with a disc, it's I will ignore any potential additional steps you take on your throws. So, but then the other one is Fortnite. My kids got me into it. So last time we talked, I was like, "Oh, it's family time with the kids." Well, I'm going to be really transparent. It's mostly for me. The kids got me into it, and they have since abandoned me. And now the dads of their friends, because we would all play as a family group,
Hmm.
the dads of their friends, it's just us. So us dads will text at night, like in the evening, "Hey, you want to jump online?" So it's literally us. And the other day, my son actually asked to play, but it was 3 other dads. You could only play with 4 people. And my son texted me if he could jump in. I said, "No, I'm in squads with the other dads." So whereas, and I had to come to that realization, whereas it used to be, this is a family thing.
Right?
Suddenly, I'm telling my son he cannot play
He
with me
cannot
right now.
play. Right.
Yeah.
And would that be because every ounce of your being is a competitive individual?
Very much so.
Okay.
Very much
Yeah.
so. And like if you could hear the sound bites, it's like a whole social media thing. Like if the sound bites of you playing Fortnite or Call of Duty were delivered to your bosses, what would they say? You would laugh. Now, you would think other things about the folks that I play with, but you would crack up at how I play because I am always talking trash to my teammates, never about other folks. So, yeah.
So, thinking back on your career, what were some of the most significant challenges you faced? And how have you developed your own personal strengths in working through those challenges?
The biggest challenge that I've faced, it's the biggest one not only in my career, but just in my life as a dad, as a human, was when my son got sick with aplastic anemia. And I had to make a decision on shutting down my gym and taking everything strictly online so that I can be there with him, or keep my gym going and then I won't be able to see my son as much. For me, it was an easy decision. It was within a week. My gym was shut down. My equipment was out. It was insinuating circumstances, so I was able to break the lease and I was okay.
So,
And
to clarify, when you say your gym, you owned it.
yeah,
This
I
was your
yeah,
business that you had built from the ground up.
yeah. So I had owned the gym. We were in a really awkward position because it was like off the beaten path, but we were able to grow it up to about 150 members, and it was really solid.
Mhm.
But yeah, closed it down, had no problem walking away. So essentially, starting a new business from scratch while my son's in the hospital. It was an interesting trek. I did some consulting work with Noom. I did some consulting work with real estate agents in regards to business development. But my passion at that time was build and grow my MOC Fitness app. So MOC is Making of Champions. It's kind of rode with me since high school. Football coach had that as their acronym to like get us all excited, motivated. But I took it to heart in regards to like everybody has a champion in them and it's defined differently. So how can you pull it out? So for me, originally it started in fitness where it's just like I can pull out the fitness champion in you. And then it's developed into life coaching, business development, everything. There's a champion version of you in there. It's just a matter of finding out what what that 20% is. I've found ways to actually take MREA and pull it together. Finding that 20% and making so you can champion that 20% and just roll with it. But in coming back to the question, that was the most difficult time. But I learned a lot about myself. That was when I realized I didn't have as much patience for folks if they had excuses.
Mm.
Because if you're coming up with excuses when there's nothing but solutions in front of you, but you have an excuse for why each solution won't work, well, then I don't have patience. And yes, the champion's still in there with you, but I don't have the patience to be able to work with you and try to pull it out.
Mhm.
I've tried to make it so I've taken Mel Robbins' 5 second rule and I call it my rule of five.
Mhm.
So I give it 5 attempts. If in 5 attempts you give me 5 reasons on why something's not going to work, and we've come up with 5 different solutions on why it can, well then we're going to have to back off and come back another time.
Yeah.
Right. So and that could be a month down the road, 6 months down the road, doesn't matter. But in that moment, that individual's not in the mind space to grow, whether it be business as a person, whatever.
They're
So
their own obstacle at
yeah,
that moment.
yeah. And you can't at that point they want you to come up with the answer. And then that's a lot of responsibility on you. And that where it goes wrong is if you come up with the answer and they try to apply it, there's no passion for them to apply it because
Mhm.
it's your idea. So now if it doesn't work, it's your fault.
Yep.
So that's where I think I learned a lot in regards to coaching. You educate to tell people how to maneuver through life and coach them
Mhm.
versus educate to tell them what to do. Coach them on coming up with the answers themselves versus telling them what to do. That was where I learned a lot of that.
Mhm.
So,
Great.
yeah.
Okay. So, what are your aspirations in the KW system? So, you've been here in a leadership role for the past 9 months.
Mhm.
You've gotten exposure to all kinds of career paths that you could potentially take. What are your aspirations within KW?
My aspirations are to stay right where I'm at.
I love that.
So, yeah, like I, excuse me, I have an AI platform that I'm building out to give real estate agents time back because real estate agents didn't sign up to be content creators. It's a marketing tool. So once again, leaning back on my marketing background, um, my goal is to, like, I've talked with my wife, and Andy and I talked about it, and we've even kind of alluded to it, like, what if this thing takes off? Well, then what? Well, then I stay put, because my goal was to create this to have a tool to recruit to,
Hmm.
something that I know front and back,
Hmm.
while I'm also learning the other KW systems. I love the idea of controlling my fate. I've had a lot of offers, like since I started, before I started, offers that had a set amount, and anytime it comes up, I hear you in the back of my head. Well, this is what they value you
Hmm.
at, and you're capped. There's no going beyond that. Whereas in this particular role, there's so many different avenues where it's uncapped potential. So I love that. It's just a matter of me finding my groove.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting closer and closer to that. But I feel like once I do find my groove and really settle in better,
Hmm.
it's gonna be something else. Like, I really believe in what we have here, the community that was already here that you fostered. I think because of COVID and because of a lot of the changes, there is a lot of reactivity. And I think we're finally getting to a place where we're very proactive and we get to make changes before any potential ruffling of feathers and
Yes.
stuff. And the biggest thing that I love is, my philosophy has always been, I want to be in business with folks that want to be in business with me. And I feel that from you. So, and I love that.
Good.
So for me, this feels like home, and like coming back from Vegas, like I was excited to get back into the office,
Mhm.
versus, whenever I've been in other career paths, when I come back from a convention, it's like, I just don't want to do anything work related.
Yeah.
So that was when I had that eye opener. It was like, I really do love this.
Mhm.
Like, wow, this
Okay.
is awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions I didn't ask that I should have?
Yep, I'm gonna fall back on the favorite food, but also, what's your least favorite food? So my favorite food is pizza, because of the fact that the potential. I'm all about potential. It's endless. You can put a bunch of stuff on it.
It's not supposed to be endless,
You
though.
you can. You could do barbecue chicken. I used to think the taco, because you mentioned the taco one. No, you can't, and it tastes pretty good. You just got to do you got to do different seasoning on the dough. And then I'm a foodie big time, so I love making stuff, my chili, all this stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, and then my least favorite food item is mushrooms. I cannot deal. I've tried my hardest. We used to do plant based, or we tried to do plant based. I lasted
Mhm.
like all but 2 days. It just didn't work. We tried to make tacos. I minced up mushrooms, put seasoning on it, and everything. It's got a taste and a texture that I just can't deal.
Huh.
So, and my wife's like, mushrooms don't taste. I'm like, no, they do.
Yeah, they have a
Yeah. Oh
taste.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't deal with them.
Yeah.
People, when they do the portobello burgers, I'm like,
So
not at all.
good.
Yeah. And it's one of those where it's not even I just don't like them. I don't like to see them. They're gross to me.
My grandfather was much the same way. When we were at a restaurant and he ordered something that had mushrooms, he would literally flick them off his plate onto whoever was sitting next to him. So,
I would even I would just, I've had times where I just can't even eat it, because the taste of the mushroom.
mm,
It's, yep.
good to know. All right.
All right.
No mushrooms.
Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. The next time we do this, it will be flipped. I will be interviewing Colleen,
Yay.
and yeah, our goal is to work our way down staff, and then to ALC, and then to you. So,
Awesome.
all right. Well,
Thanks,
as I
guys.
always do, champion your day and champion your life.